hello, everyone. It's always a pleasure to work with our Banknote industry news friends, and always good to contribute to the Banknote Technology Report. So today, I plan to take you through, as Donald said, one of the latest developments for our quantum stripe, and a new animation technology that's coming to that and will be launching in 2026. So it's quite an exciting step forward for us with that product. Now, before I dive into the animation side, I wanted to just take a moment to kind of reflect on the last year since we last presented at Banknote Technology Report, because the last 12 months has really been a year of acceleration for Authentics and for Quantum Stripe. So many of you would have seen actually coverage from BIN towards the end of 2025 that we announced a manufacturing and commercial partnership with Kurtz. That was a really big milestone for the product and for the companies. And really, it was kind of backed by an exceptional collaboration from the beginning between both organizations, especially across the product development and R&D teams. Together, what that means is we've now brought Quantum Stripe into that high volume manufacturing space, which has really helped us to amplify the momentum that we had already started building throughout the 23, 24, 25, building through some of the live customer projects that we have running, and really kind of going through that validation process with print, substrate, and application partners. So it's been a busy year for the product development teams for sure. But while that was happening, our R&D teams and design teams continued to push the technology forward. And that's what I'm here to display to you today. So for decades, our industry has kind of mastered the art of protecting value. Banknote securities kind of walk this delicate line between science and art. On one side, we have physics, materials, micro nanostructures, manufacturing precision. And on the other side, symbolism, storytelling, and national identity. And the most successful features don't just resist counterfeiting. They're easy to recognize, intuitive to trust, and they emotionally resonant. They sit with the user, they engage the user, and make the user want to see more and use more. With Quantum Stripe animation, we're no longer choosing between science and art, and we're looking to balance both of those with a real focus on the human experience and that user experience. So with the latest evolution, Authentics is introducing something which is fundamentally new to banknote security, and it comes in the form of animation. It's not a variation on existing movements or existing effects. It's not an optical trick. It's movement designed with intent and secured by the physics of the technology. So what do I mean by true animation? Animation is a term that's used frequently. It's used as any kind of term really to strictly just align to any form of movement. In its simplest form, what we mean is multiple frames per sequence. So it's a very simplistic term to a simplistic way to look at it. In practice, it's much more. It's the ability to manipulate still images so that they appear to move naturally. So with that means with correct timing, acceleration, deformation, and spatial behavior. So until now, animation in overt security has been rather limited. A few frames, therefore kind of mechanical movement, a coarse lenticular type effect, maybe minimal color. And as I mentioned, that kind of motion feels more mechanical rather than natural. And what we've created really starts to change that. Quantum Stripe now enables a full frame-by-frame sequenced animation within the secure nano-optic format that we have today. And the result in that is a smooth, fluid, continuous movement. But like I said before, a movement that is more natural, a movement that is more recognizable and natural to see. And apologies if some of these animations don't play perfectly across the bandwidth, but I have some more images that try and show those principles a bit more. So these are examples here kind of illustrate the difference between what we mean by a simple low frame effect and what we're calling a true animation or an animated effect. So we take the bouncing ball. In the real world, a bouncing ball deforms on impact. It accelerates and decelerates as it moves through its sequence. and it never really moves at a constant speed. So when we first started experimenting with the new animation technique, we started with some simple movements and some simple sequences. On paper, it looks straightforward. You have a clean set of evenly spaced frames that move in a set manner. But when we saw those in motion, it was kind of clear when something wasn't right, when something felt wrong. An object can still can move, yet still not behave as it should do. So it can look mechanical or almost artificial in its case. You get the suggestion of the movement, but not necessarily seeing it and feeling it as you would expect to. And those missing nuances are what really make a difference between a movement that feels real and not. And they're only really possible with multi-frame animation, but importantly, multi-frame animation that can be precisely tuned. So the tuning control that we're unlocking with this next step change in animation effects allows us to adjust the timing of those frames, altering the space, adding subtle transformational changes, such as that deformation of the ball on impact. So the whole sequence can then come to life, feeling like a real object moving naturally. That moment when those things came together really kind of gave us this essence of true animation. It's not just about adding more frames, it's about controlling acceleration and deceleration, deformation and recovery, timing that mimics real physics, and movement that feels natural to the human eye. Our goal is to create a feature that teaches the public how to authenticate it simply by engaging with it, because natural movement is instantly understood. So why does that really matter for Banknote Security? And the reason for that is because humans are hardwired to notice movement, but more importantly, to notice when movement isn't quite right. As I mentioned earlier, that's the trigger that we had when we were doing the first renditions of this. So long before we could read or recognize symbols, we relied on motion to survive. It is completely instinctively intuitive to us to see movement. So smooth natural movement feels intuitive, it's remembered fast, and is verified instinctively. You don't need to explain it. Authentication essentially becomes inherent rather than instructional. And with this capability, we can now create multicolor effects that appear only when tilted in specific directions, transform based on viewing angle, reveal or hide content through controlled motion in a perceived 2D or 3D space, and effects that essentially respond directly to the user interaction. Now, from a security perspective, animation kind of changes everything. Every frame must align, every transition must be seamless, every optical pathway must behave exactly as it was intended. Counterfeiters must now replicate not only the physical material, structures, and color, but sequence, direction, timing, and optical consistency. Everything is becoming exponentially harder for a counterfeiter to be able to recreate. The animation isn't just sort of raising the bar here, it's kind of redefining how a counterfeiter would have to approach copying a feature like this, but also redefining how a user would engage, therefore making a human or user more aware of what they're looking at. And as I said before, when something doesn't quite look right. So one of the most powerful opportunities that this technology unlocks is the ability to storytell and create that emotional resonance. The ability to animate national identity. National symbols are not static, they represent history, progress, continuity, pride, and now they can move in a way naturally or metaphorically. So this is a bit of a sneak peek, and it's quite a blurry image. We've got a few more things to show, but a bit of a sneak peek into our new house note that's coming in Q2 this year. You'll see that at GCF and at the Banknote conference. And it's a feature that really presents our progression and our development through the theme of time. And each individual element can carry a deeper meaning, whether that's rotating cogs symbolizing industrialization and progress that we've made in the last 12 months, a flowing hourglass that represents continuity and flow that we try to create with all of our features, or a pendulum that embodies stability and precision like I've never seen before in terms of on a nano scale, creating structural color. And all of these points really set the foundations of Quantum Stripe and the new animation effects that allow us to tell us our story in a new way. So storytelling at the point of authentication and security that connects emotionally while uncompromisingly secure. And importantly, it's not a concept. Quantum stripe animation is scalable. It is manufacturing ready. It is customizable for individual users, designed for real-world circulation and application. The animations themselves can be tailored to cultural themes, national narratives, issuer preferences, or for denominational hierarchy. And this leap into animation is more than a technical milestone for us. It marks a shift in how we think about security design. If you'd like to learn a bit more, obviously, please reach out. If you're attending any of the upcoming conferences, especially the Banknote conference, where there will be the official launch of our next house note, and we'll be demoing these features and effects in a live capacity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, guiding us through the next step of innovation from Authentics. Very impressive. May I ask, when looking into the Q&A room, so when is the readiness of the feature for adoption by central banks? And as a second question, may I ask, so what is the main difference between quantum animation from other moving features, available features in the market?
Sure. So take the difference. What's different about this from others? It really comes back to that. The amount of frames is the first thing, and that's the simplest way to look at it. If we look at animation features we have today, typically 1, 2, 3 frames, whether that's an image switch, the bird's wings, for example, the wings at the top, in the middle, at the bottom, 3 frames. And you get the suggestion of movement. You understand as a user that there's a suggested movement there. What we're able to do is add, I won't say the exact number, but tens of frames into our sequence. But importantly, we can tune those, whether that's speeding certain frames up. As I say, a ball that is thrown, it starts off fast. As it hits the arc, it will slow down and speed up on its descent again. We can create those tuned elements where that movement just becomes that bit more natural. And the idea there is that you're differentiating then between a suggestion of a movement that already looks slightly different to you would expect, to something that feels like it should be moving in that way. Therefore, as I say, a counterfeiter would have to completely match that sequence on a nanoscale, which is sufficiently hard. From a readiness point of view, actually, that's why I wanted to put the first slide in, really to try to re-emphasize the point on we've made some huge strides in the last 12 months. The product is fully ready, fully scaled and manufacturable, ready for deployment into currencies. And this animation technology is built into the technology. It doesn't change that readiness at all. So that will be as available as any other quantum stripe is from that progression we've made in the last 12 months.
Okay, thank you very much. And what would you say is the ideal width of a stripe displaying the movement and the power of this feature?
Actually, that's the kind of beauty of moving to animation effects, is that we're kind of not limited. We don't necessarily need a big space to move in. So imagine a rotating icon, for example. It can rotate in place, the cogs, by example. Those could be very small. It could work in a very narrow width. So we offer stripes that range anywhere from 8 to 15 millimeters. Mm-hmm. We can go much bigger. We can go much narrower. But typically, we fall within that range, with most customers looking to see a 12 to 15 millimeter. But we have a vast flexibility in what we're doing, that we can kind of work with anything, really.
Okay, perfect. And substrate-wise, for any kind of substrate available?
Yep, any substrate. I won't say too much about the house note, but the house note will be coming throughout the year on multiple substrates. So by the end of 2026, you'll see the same house note on paper, mixed substrates, and a polymer substrate as well. And even the application methods being slightly more innovative potentially as well. So I don't want to say too much, but we'll be progressing through 2026 with some fairly exciting changes and proving those points out.
Okay, perfect. That looks very promising. And there's a lot happening this year by Authentics. So I think that was a very good final point and message. So everyone, please get in contact with Mark Spencer to get to learn more about it, or meet Authentics, as said, on the Global Currency Forum in Antalya or the Banknote Conference in Washington. Thank you much for the great cooperation and your time. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.